ideas out there. And the second issue would be whether people are still willing to join us on Tuesday, the second, as teachers to contribute a word or two in terms of the strategy we are building as the Department of Educational Psychology at the Center for Neurodiversity. Your word would really be very helpful because I always make noise about the fact that this is a national center. It's not our center. It belongs to South Africa, and therefore, in ways that we can support and contribute to its image and its programs, it would be really very much welcome. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at one of the most troubling aspects of learning support, which is numeracy. We know that as a country, we are struggling in terms of numbers, in terms of mathematics, in terms of numbers related discipline subjects. This is why probably we ended up as a country as having the second type of program to assist our learners, mathematics literacy. I see a hand. Is that Ephraim? Ephraim, are you raising your hand? Okay, let's go on. I don't know if the colleague wanted to say something, but they are muted. I'm not sure what is going on. And nonetheless, I'll go on. So we have mathematics literacy. I don't know if with the current new regime, there are going to be changes so that we actually strengthen the issue of mathematics. There is a program internationally called PEARLS. I'm not sure how our students fare there, our learners, when they go to those Olympiads, how they do in comparison with students from other countries. And it is one thing that could actually help us to gain some knowledge that we can use in our classrooms, but mainly for literacy, for remedial education. It is one of the most important, because as we'll see, we use numbers wherever we are. This book has been one of the readings that I suggested. It's full, it's open access. I provided a link for you to have access to it. It might be very helpful. And as and when you can have time to download it for yourself, it will be very important. Most of the time, we deal with other issues in terms of learning support, but to actually concretize and look closely at numbers, I don't think we do that sufficiently, which leaves a lot of room for research, a lot of room for developing programs or projects in your own respective schools or contexts. It says numeracy in authentic contexts. One of you could actually say to themselves, this is the project that I'm going to develop for my own school, and you become a resource school where everyone can now come and we learn from you, and in terms of how you are doing. You will realize, ladies and gentlemen, that my inclination and my approach is not learning that goes to the head. It's supposed to be learning that goes to the ground and responds to the needs of people. And this is one of those that I'm saying I would encourage that as schools, as people who have been in this course, let one of you or maybe a group of you say, we are actually establishing a numeracy remediation hub. And this is where we have this particular schools we can come together. We need to be innovative in our own spaces and do something in order to help ourselves. I am meeting with a group of men, a group of fathers of children with neurodiversity. In the week that I'm talking about, they will be part of the people who will be seeing. And in our discussion with them last Saturday, one could pick up the issue that there is less realization that we have to take responsibility and do something about our own issues, our own challenges, instead of hoping that government is going to do this, NGOs are going to do that, so and so is going to do that. What are you doing in your own space where you are? You can't be a parent and start talking in language that says, you are saying, in other words, your child is supposed to be employed by somebody else, but you are not willing, as a person who owns, even if it's a sponsor shop, even if the person is just there to do very minimal things, can they be given something meaningful to do? We are talking numbers today. And we know that in the sphere of, for example, autism, people with autism can deal with numbers in a way that can amaze you, it can shock you. But we are not harnessing those skills. Instead, we are looking elsewhere. And it is my encouragement that we start thinking of, what can I do in my own context? Okay, numeracy is a contentious issue. It is contentious because some would say, why do we need numbers? I can still, survive without even having to worry about. But as I said, even from the house alone, when one is cooking, you are measuring how much should go into the pot, or how much should ingredients should. Those are numbers. We're dealing with day-to-day issues, but which we do not link to everyday activities that we are doing in numerical ways. So it says that there are multiple definitions and series of explanations that describe the relationship numeracy enjoys with mathematics, and even perspectives that interpret numeracy and mathematics as identical sets of skills, concepts, and strategies. Identified with literacy as one of the terrible twins that underpin all educational endeavors. I like that, educational endeavors. Numeracy remains a rather confused and confusing concept for many teachers who are responsible for teaching mathematics, skills, concepts, and knowledge, and for supporting students' attempt to translate these into numeracy capabilities. It means that we are dealing with something here that is tricky, that is important, but which we need to understand. So, numeracy is a social and cultural perspective of discovering and thinking about mathematical knowledge. There you go. And applying it to fulfill the purposes of our everyday lives. That's why they started by saying it is a controversial issue. If you go deeper, there is a difference. It's not mathematics, but it is discovering and thinking about mathematical knowledge. What mathematical knowledge do we have? I will give an example of my own culture. Basotho are known to have their own Basotho calendar, which starts this month in August. August is the beginning of the Sesotho year, of the Sesotho calendar. Now, Basotho were able to look at the stars in the firmament, and they could tell you when it was going to rain, when it was going to be cold, and all those predictions were there. And you could say to yourself, how did they do that? That is the question of now looking at numeracy, because they will tell you this many stars or a constellation of stars, when it is facing towards a particular direction, this is what it means. It means now they are using that mathematical knowledge and they are applying it to day-to-day lives. That's when they began back then, to prepare their oxen to go and plow the fields, because they would expect that in that particular year it was going to rain early, and therefore they needed to be ready. That is just an example that I can use. So numeracy vocabulary with our own remedial students becomes very critical again and important, in that we need to think of these four issues, which are very, very important. Uh, how does a learner know now that at this particular stage, I need to add? At this particular instance, I need to subtract. Here, I need to multiply. On this particular one, I need to divide. These are issues that we need to have at the back of our mind, at the back of our heads, as teachers who are helping our learners to appreciate this numeracy vocabulary, and how these aspects are used such that they become applicable to day-to-day living. As I said, it's difficult to see it on everyday life, but it is critical and important to accept it and realize that for our children, they need to be able to understand this. One of the things that becomes disturbing is when children who are, who have disability, you see that they will be left alone because the parent is critically ill, or whatever the situation. Now they are faced with having to use some of these skills, and they may not be able to operate that sufficiently. So numeracy means using mathematical skills in daily activities, at school, at home, at work, and in the community. We should be able to say to people, if we have the numeracy skills, that this is what we are seeing, and this is likely to be the case, so that people are aware, and they can take responsibility then for their own lives, but in a way that we have used mathematical skills to be able to help them make the proper decisions. Now, numeracy describes the series of skills that are needed to deal with life's problems in a variety of situations. And people who are gifted in terms of numbers, who like numbers, who embrace numbers, they are able indeed to help a lot in terms of life's problems. I remember I grew up in a very rural area, and there was an old man who was known to be, everyone would go to him to solve whatever problem they have in their own houses. And then you ask yourself, what made him that special, that other people could not see problems in a way that he could see them? But you could see that it was a matter of understanding numbers and how to use them. So um, it refers to the ability to reason with numbers and apply mathematical concepts. And early numeracy then refers to the foundations of mathematical reasons acquired in early childhood. This is critical, because when do we start engaging children in terms of numbers, and how do we help them then to acquire skills such that going forward they can be able to solve problems themselves. we have the distinction here, as I said, that controversy between mathematics and numeracy. It says here our concern now is not on mathematics but on numeracy. But this distinction is important. That mathematics can be defined as a study of the measurement properties and relationships of quantities and sets using numbers and symbols, while numeracy, on the other hand, we have seen that it is an individual's ability to reason and apply simple numerical concept. I like the simple part of it because that fits squarely with our own remediation aspects, because then we are not going deeper into mathematics, but we are using numbers to be able to solve day-to-day problems. So again, mathematics is a formal and broad study of the sciences of numbers, quantities, in geometry, and forms. Whereas in this side, in literacy, in numeracy, we are saying it's a person's literacy in mathematics. Can this person use mathematics to solve simple numerical concepts that have to do with solving day-to-day problems? So this year is a curriculum, an Australian curriculum in terms of numeracy. You can see that they have gone quite strategically and quite deep in terms of looking at the kind of capabilities that people would need to have in order for them to be considered to be numerate, if there's such a word. Now, we are saying here, first of all, using measurement. Can this person measure that I want to buy a piece of plank that I'm going to use to block this particular aspect in my house? And can they measure the exact size, or more or less what they need? And if they can do that, then numeracy is working. Again, estimating and calculating with whole numbers, that issue of estimation is very, very important, as we have seen, in that then it helps us to actually estimate, predict going on about our daily life. And recognizing and using patterns and relationships. When I looked at this one, I remembered our own grandmother icon, Dr. Mahlangu, the lady who draws BMWs and all these. Those develop patterns that have taken her, to the pinnacles of the world. And most people don't think that what she's doing there, she's using mathematics, and she's actually numerate and using mathematics to say how much of this color shade should go into the pattern that I'm developing, and what is the size that should go into. This is mind-boggling, because it's something that is done by somebody who you could say probably has not even been to school. But today she's Dr. Mahlangu because the world recognized that indigenous natural knowledge of numbers that she has. And then using fractions, decimals, percentages, ratios, and rates to do the same and solve our problems in our day-to-day life, and using spatial reasoning. This is very important, especially for some of our learners who may be having problems with movements and all of that. But if then they can be assisted to say, no, if this is how much you can move, this is how much you can, push things and all that, it helps a great deal, because then they will understand how best to exert themselves. Now, interpreting statistical information is very, very important. As teachers, we can't avoid this particular one, because this is what we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis in order to improve our situation. Again, we go on and look at numeracy at different aspects. I found this also very nice from Rocky View schools, where now they, break it down for us to say what kind of aspects of numeracy are we using and we are supposed to be aware of. If you look only at the green, it says numeracy awareness. Now, what is the purpose of the numbers? What is the purpose of numeracy? It says importance of numeracy. And then I like this one that says personal insight. How much do we think of that as impacting on the learner awareness such that the learner can say, whoa, by the way, I seem to be enjoying numbers. I seem to like numbers, and this is who I am. So can I be a person who's working in this particular space? And then we have task analysis on the other hand, and it is interpreted as task awareness. This is why, indifferent to all of us, anyone who is gifted in terms of numbers, they tend to solve problems quicker because they are calculative, they analyze, they are analytical, they can get to issues very fast and use numbers to help them to understand that. So then, how do we support the development of personal mathematical capabilities? Because we said that although, we are talking numeracy, yes, numeracy is about using mathematics. So you can't use something that you also don't understand. So here, we are encouraged, therefore, to look at the 5 strengths of mathematical proficiency and look at the conceptual knowledge. Do I understand? When somebody's saying you are subtracting, what does that mean? You are multiplying. That is at the conceptual level, but it is going to help us going further down. And it says here it is about understanding, comprehending mathematical concepts, operations, and relations, knowing what mathematical symbols, diagrams, and procedures mean so that we can be able to use them. And then we help our learners again in terms of computing. It is called procedural knowledge there, carrying out mathematical procedures such as adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing numbers flexibly, accurately, efficiently, and appropriately. I must admit that numbers are my biggest weakness. I think I've had a war with many people. They don't understand how my mind cannot comprehend mathematics. But I think, again, it's a personal choice, it's a personal inclination, it's a personal way of who I am. I don't deal well with numbers. So again, metacognition. Cognition is about thinking, and once we talk meta is what we are doing, something we are doing about cognition. So here it is applying. We are beginning to apply the procedural knowledge, and we are saying being able to formulate problems mathematically and to devise strategies for solving them using concepts and procedures appropriately. Can our students, our learners, be in a position to do this? This is why now, in terms of supporting them, we have to be aware of these things. Again, synthesis, now we are beginning to reason. Now, this is using logic to explain and justify a solution to a problem or to extend from something known to something less known. This is synthesis for you. And in terms of this, it is really very important because people who cannot synthesize, it becomes difficult for them to effectively apply all these other concepts, procedural and metacognition. And I see this very much when we're dealing with master's students. Now, when they have to deal with literature, and they get to that level of having to synthesize. It says here, using logic to explain and justify a solution to a problem. For them to synthesize literature that they are reading is very, very problematic, challenging, because we have not related the synthetic skills from mathematics and transpose those to how then do we use the same skills in terms of literature review. And you find this is very, very problematic. Now, again, motivation, engaging. As I said at the beginning, dealing with numbers is not a cup of tea for many people. So the issue of motivation really is critical and important. You may find that we have someone who could be a genius in dealing with numbers, but because of the demotivating experiences they have had, they don't want to have anything with numbers. I remember when we were during high school, secondary school. It was way before calculators. They were there, but very scarce. Very few people had them. And we had this French Canadian priest who was teaching us. My goodness, the man would calculate so many numbers, just like a machine. And you're like, my goodness, what is going on here? But his attitude towards us was not motivating at all, because he would think that because you can't comprehend the same as he did, then you are not part of the league. But if perhaps he could have done it, you know, in a way that accommodated even the slow ones to capture concepts in terms of numbers, maybe many of us would have had a different experience altogether. So it is important as teachers who are in supportive learning environment to be cognizant of this, because most of the time we play a role in either encouraging or discouraging learning, and we have to be important when it comes to issues of numbers. So here this is why then we should talk of pedagogies that empower, pedagogies that give people power to say, yes, you can do it. Yes, it is possible, instead of demotivating people to say, you don't know numbers, you are nobody in the world. No, it shouldn't be the case. So these two colleagues propose that constructivist learning theories have two foundational principles, and that is learning takes as its starting point the knowledge, attitude, and interest students bring to the learning situation. We don't want to assume that learners come empty-headed. No, there's nothing like that. This is why you would ask yourself. I was looking at a video of a very small child. I think he's something like between 3 or 2 years old. He's sitting on a piano and he's paddling away on it. And you're like, how on earth is this possible? It's because of the knowledge that some people come already with particular skills in their system, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we should not at all assume that they come as tabula rasa. Now, learning results from the interaction between these characteristics and experience in such a way that the learners construct their own understanding from their subjective understandings. It is important to always refer back to them, however much you have explained, to ask them, how do you understand this? You would be surprised of the answers that may come that. As a result, constructive pedagogy has two parallel foundational ideas, and that is instruction must take as its starting point the knowledge, attitude, and interest that these students are bringing on board. And instruction must be designed so as to provide experiences that effectively interact with the characteristics of students, so that they may construct their own understanding. This, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to see it in your designed IEPs, because this is where now you would say, I am actually bringing back power to my learners to say to them, this is what you should be doing to empower them. All right, you can see here this lady. She's smiling away and encouraging, motivating, and this is the type of thing. I know many of you are doing this, but there are some of us who are like straight-faced teachers who are like on the task, and nothing that might be seen to be motivating. But I think we need to have a softer side to us to encourage learning to take place, so that people realize that learning is not about fighting about that which is learned. I took one of my students to a conference at the beginning of this year, and the way we relate with her has not changed from the way we used to relate before she embarked on a PhD with me. And some of my colleagues were like, how is this possible? And I said, you have built a relationship. Why should it change now that you are a supervisor, supervisee? I believe that the strong relationship that we brought on the table of supervision should continue, so that this person, because she chose me, eventually realizing that this is a person who can help me get somewhere with what I'm trying to do in life. And um, as it is, we are changing even the way that we are doing things, um, to encourage learning, that the traditional way a teacher would be, to whip the student. No, make it pleasant, make it likable, make it acceptable to the learners, so that they would want to come back to school and feel that this is the space where we belong. Again, we can talk in this space of transformative pedagogies, where now um, we do what Paulo Freire said at one point. He said we must educate learners so that they are able to read the world. And I was so glad to see that some people also are using that. So, context for curriculum, let it be in a way that, you know, it is transforming how we do things, and in how we interact with our curriculum. This is why my idea of assessment is not only assessment that is based on testing, but it is on building. What we are doing is to help us get some skills that we can use even in the future, to say to ourselves, this is what we are doing. I've just been on a call with one of my postdoctoral fellows in Nigeria, and this is what we want to do. We want to come up with a situation where we can help people build, transform the way that teachers are teaching, so that there is this element that is taken care of social justice. What are we talking about here? For example, is it just that when we are assessing, we assess everybody in the same way, and yet people are different? This is again part of what you want to consider when you are developing your assignment on the developing your own IEP. The issue of social justice is very critical. We may be saying we are forcing a learner to hold a pen, and this is a learner who has a problem physically of holding things that are thin. Why are we insisting that this learner should be able to hold a pen like everybody else? So these are issues also that we need to be engaging with. So characteristics of pedagogy, transformative pedagogies, include the fact that the role of the teacher um, is that where the teacher is looked at as the informed adult who mentors and supports learning. The teacher mentors and supports learning. The teacher values and multiply representations of knowledge by respecting constructivist epistemologies. We have just seen that. Now, students are provided with opportunities for discussion, debate, and dialogue. It's only today that I'm just going through this because we have two other things to deal with. You know that in my class, I like us discussing and debating these issues and having a dialogue, because it's also boring to just listen to one person talk. But again, the teacher and students engage in reflection and a variety of tasks that promote contemplation individually and with colleagues and peers. What would it take for us as teachers to ask our learners, how would you feel that I could be helpful to you in terms of your journey in education? Let's surprise ourselves. How best do you think you learn so that I can help you to maximize your learning while you are here? It's one of those things that are important. And as I'm saying, let's be mentors. Let's be people who are seen to be helping the little ones to understand that learning is very, very important. It may be difficult and challenging, but it must be seen from a positive light. Let's motivate, let's encourage, so that the self-esteem of learners also is assisted. So how do we help our child, again, to learn mathematics so that it assists us in terms of the numeracy that we are dealing with? We can start to do simple activities at home, or to explore these 5 strands of maths which we have seen. What do they mean? Now, again, patterns to algebra. I gave an example of patterns in terms of drawing. But also we know that using our own bodies, again, patterns can be there. In our Black societies, we have this traditional games that we can use. Our children grew up knowing that, but no, as children, we grew up knowing that. But now that people are sitting back and their cell phones, iPads, you name it, there's no more these things of jumping, clapping, and people are using that knowledge of algebra and translating it into their day-to-day life. Data management, same thing here. And then measurement, we have seen that. Number sense, and this is also what can be very helpful in terms of us trying to help our learners. And geometry and spatial sense, we spoke about that, left and right and all that, D shapes and all that. We are thinking as the university, as the department, to develop a program. And this program will be for youth with autism and Down syndrome, whereby they can come to the university and have a sense of what it is to learn at the university. I will talk about it another time when we have a point, because it is still in the making. And this is where it becomes important. Will this particular student understand her colleague or his colleague when they're staying in the rest, when they say it is behind, it is out, through all of that? Do they have this spatial knowledge of understanding what is it that we are talking about? So learning support is really must be doing a lot more than we are doing now, in the sense of going deeper and understanding these aspects and helping our learners to understand them well. I think this is my last slide, and I want to say that with well-designed pedagogy, we can empower our learners with critical skills and help them turn passions into decisive life advantages. This is important, ladies and gentlemen. Help them turn passions what they like, their own passions, into decisive life advantages, so that we don't take them out of their comfort zone, but we help them to develop that which is akin to them, that which is what they like doing. So the role of education is no longer to teach content, but to help our children learn. Learn to do what? To read the world. In other words, um, that rewards the innovative and punishes the formulaic. The formulas are important. We can't do away with them. They are there. They are part of the system. And what is more important is for us to help to support this learner who is no longer only cramming the content, and yet they don't acquire skills that they can use to solve their own problems in the world. This is what I was talking about, and I think it is the end of the lesson for today on numeracy. The recorder might stop the recording so that we go on and do our other business. Dr. Jean, are you there?
I'm here, Prof.
Okay.
Are you ready to stop the recording?
Yeah, I can stop it.
I'll stop on my side. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, colleagues.